Guy, now traditionally classical music productions are hosted in grand venues that boast size, deco to match, whether we want to admit it or not, a bit of intimidation. Now Classics now in collaboration with the Brooklyn Theatre is putting a spin on things by hosting a Mozart Opera Production at the Krugersdorp based Nirox Sculpture Park, which is known as one of the leading open-air venues of our time here in Johannesburg. Don Giovanni is a 229-year-old opera based on the legend of Don Juan. The 11-man production will be hosted next Saturday and, well, in 2 weeks' time. Tell us more is co-producer Lloyd Anthony Smith. Lloyd, thank you very much for joining me. Let's talk about moving opera from its traditional home, as we talked about in the intro, to something new and maybe invigorating to a new audience.
Yes, well, it's a really exciting prospect for us. We've been developing a music program at the Nirox Sculpture Park over the last 3 years. So we've veered into different genres of concerts, everything from roots music, blues music, jazz, folk, instrumental guitar. And last year we decided what we really wanted to do was branch into the classical field. So we hosted a few classical concerts, including with artists like Mozart the Soweto String Quartet, as well as the Soweto String Quartet, Wouter Kellerman, Charles Duplessis Trio. And what we've always wanted to do was to host an opera. But for us to...
Let me come in here quickly, just because I think we've got a couple of technical gremlins we'd like to sort out this morning. Nirox, I mean, if you look at these pictures right now on screen, ideally is one of those venues that have become synonymous with great concerts, an awesome experience. And you know, an opera itself, we're finding ourselves we're in a time where it's changing. What was that conversation like when you decided that you've done so many different genres of music? You started touching on classical, but what was that conversation in the office and on how it would be received? Because I'm sure there must be purists.
Yeah, for sure. Look, it is a very different spin, and it is taking something that grandiose back outdoors, which is somewhat ambitious in its concept, but we feel like we've got the space, and there seems to be a demand for people to enjoy that kind of production in the natural, beautiful settings that is Nirox Sculpture Park.
Then there's the actual production itself, Don Giovanni. I mean, it's 229 years old. In many ways, you could be introducing this to a brand new audience. What is it about, very, very quickly? And I think you guys must be excited about the fact that you're exposing a brand new audience to it.
Yes, definitely. Well, that's the idea. Nirox Foundation, as a foundation, exists to foster the arts, all kinds of arts. And with our branching into the musical arts, and now in terms of opera, it is a way to expose people who would potentially never have seen something like that otherwise. So it's a really exciting production for us and a really exciting thing to host.
What is Don Giovanni about? For those
Don
who've never seen
Giovanni,
it.
well, it's based on the legend of Don Juan de Marco, the fictional libertine and famous seducer. And yeah, it is 230 years old, I believe, this year. So it's one of the standards in the opera repertoire, one of the most famously performed around the world. And it's part of actually the Johannesburg International Mozart Festival this year, and our collaboration with the Brooklyn Theatre in Pretoria is the reason that we're able to host something of this scale.
Was it an obvious choice, Don Giovanni, or was there a lot of debates and a lot of coffee?
Look, the thing is, because it's a tragic comedy, it's got the comedic element, the melodramatic, and a bit of the supernatural. It's relatively well known, and it's Mozart, which you know, is quite an interesting character, as history would portray it.
I'm going to ask from a completely layman's perspective. When you take something like that sits in a traditional structure into an open air, does it change the elements of the production?
I'm sure it's going to, because this is an untried and untested thing.
You guys are a bit of pioneers here.
Well, we're trying something different and something new. We want to be showcasing in a different space. So it's going to take on its own creature. It'll be its own thing entirely. But based within the Nirox framework, it's bound to be quite lovely with all the hills and undulating waterways and magnificent outdoor sculptures that are around there. We feel like it's going to be something to behold.
I love the fact that you described the Nirox Sculpture Park for us a little bit. If you've never been there, the experience that you guys are putting together, so it will be the opera, but what else?
So basically, the opera is of course the main draw.
The main thrust of the day.
Yes, but it's in it's in complete connection with the setting. So Nirox Sculpture Park is in the cradle of humankind, which obviously has pretty huge significance for mankind. And being such a space that's open to fostering the arts, we've got really big outdoor contemporary artworks and sculptures from local and international artists. And then we have a selection of food traders known as the Epicurean Emporium, who have become a part of our program over the last few years. So it's carefully selected and curated cuisine traders.
So it's going to be quite magical. Where can people go if they want to find out more details, Anthony?
So people can go to the Nirox website, so that's niroxarts.com, or to the classicsnow.org website. Those are the two places to get tickets.
Look, it sounds like an absolute, the absolute thing to do in 2 weeks' time on the 28th of January. If you're into classical music or not, maybe you're into serene or picturesque spaces that tickle your fancy, or better yet, maybe you're a foodie or an art lover. All those different elements will be brought together on Saturday. That's the 28th at the Nirox Sculpture Park, and the event is the Don Giovanni, which is a Mozart opera. For more info, the tickets and sales and production, go to classicsnow.org to find out more details. We'll take an ad break.